It is time for another episode of Draft to Deadline Inside the Reporter's Notebook. I'm Brian Dorman. It is so great to have you with me for this latest podcast as we talk about my latest project, Amazing Joe. Do you know this story, the story about Joe Burris, who buried himself alive out at Blackbeard's in 1990? This is way before my time. In fact, I was quite young. I was still a teenager living in Michigan. Joe Burris, a magician and escape artist who tragically died out at Blackbeard's. It was an event that so many people in the Valley had gathered for. His son was kind enough to give me bumper stickers that were made. These were promotional pictures that were signed. It was an event that was actually celebrating Joe Burris's own sobriety. And it was serving as a fundraiser for alcohol and addiction recovery centers in Fresno at the time. It was also in honor of Houdini's death. It was the anniversary of Houdini's death the night of this show. Joe Jr. was there with his brother and his mom. His grandparents were there. And Joe was trying to escape from a plexiglass coffin that he had been buried in with dirt, and on top of the dirt was cement. Marking his 35th anniversary of his death, his son is trying to raise enough money for something to honor the death of his dad happening at Blackbeard's, a plaque, a bench to keep his father's memory alive. Without further ado, I want to jump right into my full interview with Joe Jr. about what this means to him. So let's take a listen. Joe, I want to obviously jump right in, but before we get all the way to Halloween of 1990, I just kind of want to know what it was like growing up with a cool dad.
Yeah, I mean, it was because, he was doing magic pretty much almost my entire life. So he would be doing magic shows for the neighborhood kids for birthdays. He would do parties in the backyard. He would come to school and do magic tricks and magic shows at schools and stuff like that. So a lot of kids were like, "Oh man, your dad's cool," because everybody knew him. Everybody, that he did magic, and so it was cool. He going to him with the different shows that he would do at schools and parties and stuff. It was really fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You were really involved, and so was your mom, your brother. I mean, it was really kind of a family event, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, we all were part of it in some way, helping him plan, helping him do stuff. My mom did a few, not too much, but my brother and I, for sure, being young and kids and thinking it was cool, wanted to kind of tag along with him and be there with him and help him with everything. So just kind of being there and watching him do the tricks and watching the kids scream and with pure amazement was fun. It really was.
Yeah, there's a difference between being a magician with some card tricks and some coin tricks versus an escape artist.
Yeah,
that's next level.
Yeah, so he at some point after doing magic for a long time decided, I want to amp it up. I want to be an escape artist. I want to do the big major tricks. And this was before any of the magicians. Really, the only one around at the time was David Copperfield. And that's when he was walking through the Wall of China and making the Statue of Liberty disappear and floating over the Grand Canyon. So my dad kind of wanted to be him. I remember one time we were at Magic Mountain and there was David Copperfield performing. And so we got to meet him and take pictures with him, and we thought that was the coolest thing. And my dad was telling him, like, hey, I'm a magician, I'm gonna, make it big. David Copperfield knew who my dad was because I guess they became sort of friends, and he would kind of mentor my dad. So he started getting into these big, master illusions and escapes and stuff like that. And I know one of the tricks that he did was being chained and handcuffed into a box, having the box set on fire, and then having a car come speed down the track and burst through the box. And my dad was the one driving the car. This was done at Ratcliffe Stadium. And so he started, once he did that, he was like, all right, I love this. And so he started trying to do bigger and better things. So his goal was to be not only a great magician, but a great escape artist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think your dad's dream was?
Definitely to make it big. He used to tell me all the time, he goes, you're going to see my name, in the lights. You're going to see my name on signs. I'm going to be, trying to get into Vegas. And this was before any magicians really were performing in Vegas. So that was kind of his goal. Had he made it that night, he would have been exactly where he wanted to be. And he would have been Chris Angel. He would have been David Copperfield. He would have been David Blaine. He would have been these guys that are there. And so that was his main goal, was to be well known, to be famous, to make the Burris name famous, to make his parents proud. He was kind of a problem child. He had dyslexia. He had ADD and ADHD, so he was kind of a screw up in school. And so this was a way to make his dad, my grandpa, proud. And so that's kind of why he wanted to do that.
And there was deep meaning on this event on Halloween of 1990. It was very personal for your dad.
Yeah, for sure. He had done it in 1989 in Oregon. He used just dirt. He used a wooden coffin, and he was successful. He wanted to come here and do it, but he wanted to come here and do it to do it bigger and better, but he wanted to do it in front of his family and friends. The main thing he wanted to do was he wanted to raise money for recovery programs, such as Turning Point, the Third Floor, places like that were around at the time that helps recovery addicts from drugs and alcohol. He himself was a recovering addict, and so he wanted to raise money for that purpose. So he was at a pumpkin patch doing shows 2 weeks before this event at Blackbeard's, and where people were throwing money in the coffin and kind of donating for that. He had a big sign that said, third floor, benefiting the third floor. And so it was very important to him. And he had his assistants that night were a lot of addicts themselves, a lot of recovering addicts themselves that were out there to help him for that cause. So most of his crew that night were from one of those organizations.
Mm-hmm. Was it hard for you to talk about?
In the beginning it was. It really was, especially, being young. Now, not so much. My goal is kind of the same as my dad's. I want to keep his name out there. I want people to know who he was. I have people that recognize my last name and, hey, was that your dad? Or when I tell them about the night, oh my God, I was out there. Or I used to work there. Or I met him from that night. So it gets easier talking about it the longer that time goes on. Because I've done interviews for Netflix and for writers and producers that put them in a book and put them in different shows. And so it gets a little easier to talk about each time. But with my ultimate goal, trying to keep his story out there and let people know, what happened and who he was means more to me. And so I try to really get past the grief and just try to talk to him about him in a happy manner and just try to let people know that, like, hey, he died doing what he wanted to do, and he died initially with the goal in mind of, I'm not only gonna make it, I'm gonna make my parents proud, but I'm also gonna raise money for these people that helped me recover.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to know what your family was thinking, even before leading up to that Halloween, but this is a very dangerous lifestyle when he's doing these crazy things.
Yeah.
What did your mom think? What did you guys think? I mean, here, this is, a lot of dads aren't allowed to ride motorcycles anymore, right?
Yeah.
Here your dad is, swinging the chandelier all over the, city.
Yeah.
His parents, who he was trying to make proud. What did people think about him when he came up with these ideas? Before we get to the casket idea on Halloween, just even the vehicle and all these things, when he started to go from the fun parties into the escape artist lifestyle that is so dangerous.
Yeah, they thought, Joe, you're crazy. Like, you're crazy. You're gonna get yourself hurt. He's like, no. I know what I'm doing. And when he did the escape attempt in Oregon and made it, he showed everybody that tape. He came back to California, came back to Fresno in January of '90, and he showed everybody, family, friends, anybody that would watch it. He showed them the entire 3-hour video. And they were like, okay, wow, like you did it. And so when he was telling them, hey, I'm going to do it here in Fresno, I'm going to do it with cement, and I'm going to do it bigger and better, they're like, you did it before, we have faith in you. But they really, his parents especially were, very leery of him doing stuff like that, because of course that's their child and they want their child to be safe. But he was doing it for 20 years at that point. So they were like, okay, we trust him. We know that he knows what he's doing. A lot of it in Fresno was, poor planning. He didn't have the money to hire a team and a crew and stuff like that to plan it out better. And, there was a lot of maybe concerns with, oh man, is this coffin going to hold the weight and this and that? But he was going to do it no matter what. That was most important for him, was I'm going to do this. I'm going to become at least locally famous. That'll help me land more gigs and more parties, and to be able to make more money to give to these organizations. So that was his thing.
Sounds to me like people recognize this was his dream and they didn't really want to stand in the way of that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, everybody seen the video and was like, wow, like I didn't think you were going to make that. I mean, just with the video and the time that he was underground until the time he came out, people were like, dang, is he really going to make it? But so there was always the question of, how safe is this going to be? But they knew that, okay, you've got planning, you've got people helping you this time, you've got a bigger team than you had. All right, we'll let you do your thing. But it was still a lot of concerns from a lot of people. A lot of people tried to tell him, like, maybe wait, you don't have to do it so soon. Maybe plan a little bit better. But he wanted to do it on Halloween in 1990. That was the anniversary of Houdini. Houdini had died 65 years ago before that. So he had to do it on the anniversary of Houdini. So doing it the year after that wouldn't make any sense. So he had to do it on the 65th anniversary because Houdini was his idol. So people knew that, and they're like, all right, well, you've got, almost an entire year to plan. You know what you're doing. We have faith in you. But behind his back, they would kind of show his concerns. My aunt and grandparents would talk and be like, I don't know. But they didn't want to let him know that.
Story's 35 years old. I want to make sure that we get it right.
Yeah.
Take me back to Oregon. What was that stunt like? Was that the same plexiglass coffin? Dirt was thrown on top of it. Take me back to that story first before we come down to Fresno.
Yeah, so in Oregon, he had built a wooden coffin. It was completely made out of wood. He built it himself. It had a little plexiglass on top so that people can see that he was in there. And he pretty much just got buried underneath the dirt. It was similar to what Houdini had done. And it was same thing. He was all over the local news. Everybody heard about it, but there were still questions of like, you weren't in there. Like, you weren't in there. There's no way you were in there. Like something, you had a stunt person, or you had hidden air, or you had something in there. You had an earpiece that whatever. So he wanted to squash all those. Like, no, I was in there. So that's why he decided on the plexiglass coffin. He didn't build it thick enough, but he did make it himself. Whatever materials he could get a hold of, he made it himself. The whole idea was, I want people to know I'm in there. Like, this is me. This is nobody else. There's nothing hidden. There's no hidden air. Like, I'm in there. And so he built the plexiglass coffin himself so people can see him 360 degrees, and there was no doubt that he was in there. The cement, he just wanted to basically put a foot of cement at the top to write his name in. Hey, I did this. But it also would have kicked him up greater than Houdini, because Houdini just used dirt. Amazing Joe is going to use cement. So the whole idea was to use cement for that reason. However, half the grave was filled with cement, so a lot more cement was used than was supposed to be. That was a factor, and one of the factors of the coffin collapsing.
So in Oregon, when he used the wood coffin with a little bit of the plexiglass on the top, you weren't there for that,
No.
right?
No,
Yeah,
we weren't
none
there.
of the family was there.
Yeah, we weren't there. I was 12, so I was in junior high school. So I was in school. My mom wouldn't let me, go with them or anything like that.
That was the first time he had successfully done that act,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, that was the first time he'd done that.
What kind of practice did he do with the plexiglass coffin before Halloween?
It wasn't so much as trial runs.
Because he never did it with cement, right? As a
No.
practice run.
Yeah, no.
Out of the pumpkin patch, though, he did try this again, correct?
Well, at the pumpkin patch, what he would do was he would have the coffin displayed. He would show people, hey, this is the coffin, let people touch it, whatever. He would stand on it and do magic tricks and show people how strong it was. But his practice run was basically chaining himself, handcuffing himself, shackling himself as he would be in the coffin, and then rolling around on the ground, getting free of all that so people can see, like, this is how it's done. There's no hidden anything. Like, I'm picking the locks. I'm doing all this stuff. So he wanted people to see, like, I'm going to be chained and shackled. I'm going to be in this coffin. I'm going to be picking the locks. I don't have a hidden key, nothing like that. So he kind of wanted everybody to see, like, these are real chains. These are real handcuffs. I'm really picking the locks. And then kind of just standing on the coffin, do different tricks to let people see. The lid had cracked during his run out there. He knew it. He didn't bother to fix it. It was something that was like, well, I don't have time. That's okay. It's a small thing. I'll be okay. And he didn't take the time to fix the crack. That might have been another factor of the coffin collapsing.
There were some articles that had suggested he went to a hardware store, used some glue on that crack. Do you know whether that happened or not?
Yeah, I had heard about that, where he tried to just kind of rig it the best he could with whatever glue he can find. It's not the same type of Gorilla Glue or anything that we have nowadays. It was whatever cheap glue that was in the hardware store at the time, which probably did nothing. But he was going to do that show no matter what. I mean, short of a tornado or earthquake happening, he was going to do that show.
So even with the plexiglass coffin, he never practiced that with just dirt?
No.
To escape from it?
No, he never practiced it. He never did a trial run. He had one coffin, and that was it. He never gotten buried in it, nothing. I did it before. I'm going to do it the same way. It's just plexiglass. It's just as thick as the wood was. So I don't need to practice. I did it before, and that was kind of his mentality. I know people were telling him, my grandparents, his sisters, but he was like, no. Like, I've done it. My practice run was Oregon. I've done it. So that was kind of, he was in his mind that this is what I'm going to do. It's going to work. I did it already. That's fine. I'll prove you guys wrong.
Did you see his shows out of the pumpkin patch?
Yeah.
Is that cool to see? Well,
yeah.
You were probably part of it, right? Were you part of those shows?
A few of them, yeah. I mean, he was out there for 2 weeks. We weren't out there for every single one, but my mom took us out there for a couple of them, and kind of just watching him pull up in the limo and watching him do his show. And I mean, for the little crowds that were there, and kind of being with him afterwards, and he was signing autographs and stuff like that. And so being part of that was fun. That was something that he enjoyed doing. And so we were out there for a couple of those shows, yeah.
Yeah. I understand you told me he had done his own marketing for this, for Halloween night, driving his truck around. Tell me about that.
Yeah. He would just drive around. He had his video with him from Oregon, and he would drive around to wherever he can get people to see it.
Casket in the back.
No, not casket in the back. He had his video, and he was like, hey, I did this. I'm going to do this in Fresno, and trying to get people on board. I mean, he pretty much reached out to all the news channels, and they looked at it. He reached out to radio stations. They were like, yeah, we'll be out there. We'll help you promote. He was on local radio talk shows talking about it for a couple weeks prior, and he would just go out and pretty much, I mean, he showed the tape to Blackbeards. Initially, that wasn't where he was going to do the show. He was going to do a show in his friend's front yard. Whatever happened with that, he was trying to find a venue to do this at. So Blackbeards was one of the first places he went to and showed them, and they're like, oh man, this will be great publicity for us. Yeah, sure, come on out. And so he would kind of just market himself, and just kind of, this was before any kind of social media where I can just put a post on Facebook. He would go out and be like, hey, this is me. This is what I did, and kind of get people interested that way, and just kind of doing it the old school way. So that's pretty much what he did. He just went around to different businesses and was like, hey, you want to sponsor this? He went to the third floor. He went to Turning Point and was like, hey, I'm going to do a show. I want to benefit you guys. Here's what I did. They're all for it. Yeah, cool, and they knew of him. They knew him because he he would go there and kind of talk to the staff and a lot of the recovery addicts that were there. So they knew him, and they're like, yeah, we're all for it. We'll help you out in any way that we can. So that was just him kind of being his own marketing person.
So take me back to Halloween, 1990, the day of. What was the atmosphere like around here? What was his spirit? How were you feeling, your brother?
Yeah, it was, so I was in 8th grade at the time, and I believe this was on like a Wednesday or Thursday. And so I knew that night, I was like, oh man, my dad's going to do this. I can't wait to come back to school tomorrow because all these people are going to see us on the news. And it was really a crazy event because the limo picked us up. We had never been in a limo. The limo came to our house and picked us up, took us to Blackbeard's, dropped us off. We sat in the front row. The limo left to go pick him up. And watching him pull up in the limo, like everybody cheering, and he got on stage and did his magic show, and waited for the main event and kind of hyped it up and talked about it. But it was cool that day. He had a clown out there making balloon animals for people, and he had people out there from all the media channels, and he had his friends, and he had all his family out there, and everybody was just excited about what was going to happen. It was very, very cold that night. Everybody had on blankets and coats and everything, but they were there to watch, the Amazing Joe do this and see what the next level was going to be. And so everybody was excited for it. They were out there supporting him, all his friends, all his family. There wasn't a single person that wasn't out there. Everybody was out there.
How are you feeling?
Now, I mean...
How are you feeling? 13 years old looking back, were you just as excited? Do you think...
Yeah.
Of course, nobody wants to think that the worst is going to happen. So, I mean, you saw him, all these successful shows, being able to do it. So, I mean, surely everyone must have thought that he was going to be able to pull this off, right?
Yeah, no, I was just an excited kid. I mean, I had seen my dad do magic almost my whole entire life, so I had no doubt that he was going to do this. I saw the tape from Oregon. I was like, yeah, no, my dad's got this. There's no way he's not going to do it. So I was excited. I couldn't wait to go back to school because I wanted everybody to, everybody would have seen it, and I was waiting for people to, be all coming up to me and like wanting to be my friend after this. So I was excited. I was definitely excited.
Were you able to talk to him at all that night?
No, I had the opportunity. He was backstage. When he got there, my family, my brother went back there. My mom was like, go talk to your dad, go talk to your dad. I'm like, no, I don't want to bother him. I'm going to let him do his thing. He's preparing for the show. I don't want to bother him. I'll see him later. I'll wait till he comes out. I'll, hug him then, tell him I loved him then. Like, I'll wait. And so I didn't want to go back there to bother him. But looking back now, of course, I had that one opportunity, and that's something that sat with me for even to this day, because I had that one opportunity to hug him or wish him luck or whatever, and I decided to wait.
All right, so take me into the stunt.
Yeah, so that night, he did his show on stage, did a good, hour magic show, did all his special magic tricks that everybody loves seeing, and kind of hyped up the main event that was going to happen. Everybody was kind of looking forward to that. There was a lot of people there. There was a good few hundred people there. They were waiting to see that. So he basically, took his jacket off, took his shoes off, got chained up, got shackled, started getting lowered into the ground. They had pulled him back up after a few minutes because the chains were too tight around his neck. So they pulled him back up, kind of loosened everything, and then proceeded to bury him and started covering him with the dirt and everything. And just as the cement got to the top, we were like, all right, anytime now he's going to be coming out. And shortly after that, it just sank. He had given instructions, hey, don't come save me if something happens, because the vibration of the trucks are going to cause the grave to sink in. So if something happens, just wait a few minutes. Don't come start digging for me right away. So it was about a 5-minute silence of the grave just sunken in, and everybody was like, oh my God, like, get him out of there. Everybody was screaming like, get him out, get him out. They had instructions, don't get me out because the vibration is going to make it worse. So 5 minutes later, backhoe started digging him out, got to the bottom pretty quickly, and before they dug him out, they pretty much made everybody leave. They didn't want anybody to see him, and they made everybody leave. From what I understood, he was still alive after it collapsed. He had dirt and cement under his fingernails, so he was trying to get all that weight off his chest, and didn't make it in time. Just suffocated before he could be taken out of there. Mm-hmm. So he was probably dead 4 or 5 minutes before they actually got to him and started giving him oxygen. And they tried to save him. They had put oxygen on him. They were doing CPR. They tried to save him. It was just a little bit too late.
How was the act supposed to go? How was your dad supposed to be able to escape?
Right, so the chains and shackles, he had a pick. He picked through all the locks, picked through the handcuffs, picked through everything. He got really good at picking locks and everything. So he was supposed to pick everything, and then the foot of the coffin, he would kick the foot of the coffin, a trap door would come open. And that's kind of how he would burrow out through the ground, was through the trap door. And so that was already done. He was already making his way out when everything collapsed. But that's pretty much how the trick was supposed to be done. So it wasn't no hidden key, it wasn't no hidden air. It was picking the locks in the dark, no light source, no anything. So picking everything in the dark, kicking his trap door, getting that to open up, and then pretty much just doing old school digging from there.
Mm-hmm. And for people to understand, that starts right as soon as the dirt is going on top of him. He's already picking. He's already trying to get out of there. So
Yeah.
to your point, do you believe that he was out of the coffin when it collapsed and already working his way up, or do you think he was still in it? How do you?
Well,
do you know?
I've heard different things. I don't know for sure. I've heard people saying like, yeah, he was already on his way out when it collapsed, and then I've heard no, like he didn't have a chance to get out yet. Coffin collapsed. He was trying to get all that stuff off of him. So I've heard different ways. I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know the truth. I probably never will, but I've heard both ways.
Mm-hmm. What do you think went wrong?
It was pretty much just the weight of the concrete. From what he told me, it was a 6-foot grave. I'm going to put mostly dirt. The top is going to be about a foot of cement. I just want something to kind of make it a little bit harder. I want to write my name when I come out so that it's there forever. But the video shows 3 or 4 feet of cement. So it was just way too much cement. I don't know if it was a mistake on the assistant's part. I don't know what happened, but from what he told me, it's not going to be that much cement. And that's kind of what he told the family. Like that was the one thing they were concerned about. He's like, no, it's not going to be halfway filled with cement. It's going to be mainly dirt, but there's going to be enough cement on top to make it just that little bit harder. It's going to start to set, start to dry when I get to the top. So it'll make it that much harder, but then there's also something I can sign my name in so that I'm there forever. And it just didn't, for some reason, go that way. It was filled with primarily cement.
Mm-hmm. Do you blame anybody?
I mean, yes and no, because, I don't know all that what happened. I mean, maybe there was supposed to be that much cement. Maybe he just told us there wasn't going to be. I don't know. I've never spoken to any of his assistants that worked that night, or any of the people that were out there. I've never ran into them, never met any of them, so I don't know what was supposed to happen. I just know that what he told us, and from what he told us, it's like, yeah, somebody on his team screwed up because it wasn't supposed to be that much cement. Mm-hmm. But it was also, his fault because, the coffin was cracked. He didn't do a lot to fix it. He knew it was cracked and thought super glue would hold it. And so a lot of it was his, wrongdoing as well. He didn't plan better. He thought he had it. And I think if he had thought it out more, or had more time, he probably it would have ended differently. But I did blame a lot of people in the beginning because, I was a kid. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that this happened. And then, as I got older and watched the tape and watched the event from that night, I'm kind of like, okay, well, yeah, there was a lot of cement. It wasn't supposed to be that much, but was there really? I don't know.
As you're standing there, at what point do you realize at 13 years old that things have gone really bad?
I kind of right away. It collapsed, it sank, and I was like, this isn't going to be good. I took off. I went to go walk over to the water slides. I sat there, cried, prayed, please let everything be okay. And I was just up there for a long while until I heard my name being paged. My family couldn't find me, and we had to leave. And so I was up there for quite a while, kind of just praying and hoping that everything would be okay. Not really knowing what was going to happen. I knew that they weren't going to go look for him right away. They were instructed not to, so I wasn't worried. Oh my God, you guys aren't saving him. That's what he wanted. Kind of hoping that he would still be fine, but seeing that it collapsed and how long it was sitting there and there was a lot of weight, kind of just like, I don't think this is going to be good. I don't want to be here when they pull him out. And so that's kind of why I took off.
Mm-hmm. Who told you that your dad died?
The news. The news. We got home and it was top story on all the news channels. And that's when we heard, local magician passed away. And so basically it was finding out from there. My grandparents stayed. They probably knew before anybody else, but this was before cell phones or anything. So we had already gone and we didn't know. Everybody was crying in the limo on the way home. We didn't know what happened until we got home and put on the news and heard it.
Yeah. Because he was rescued. He was given oxygen. Was he taken to the hospital?
Yeah, he was given oxygen, started CPR. There was a lot of ambulances out there, a lot of first responders out there. He was taken to the hospital. Not sure if he was already deceased when he got in the ambulance or if it was on the way there or what happened, but we just heard on the news as soon as we got home that he didn't make it.
Mm-hmm. This is so tragic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something really that's stuck with me, forever. I mean, every Halloween that rolls around, I'm like, well, it's been another year. And, thinking about that night and just replaying the events from that night that happened. So it's something that's really tough to get over. I mean, when having a family member die is one thing, but when you watch them die, it's something that you really can never get over. And it's something that's just been hard for me to really cope with over the years.
Mm-hmm. Had he survived, he had some big plans because that was what was going to put him on the map.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he would have had the fame that he wanted. He definitely would have been a local celebrity. I'm sure eventually it would have hit news channels all over the world, and that's what he wanted. He probably would have done interviews for different local news channels. He probably would have done interviews for different people. I'm sure people would have reached out to him from different cities and states, and he was gonna do bigger and better tricks after this. I mean, he was gonna chain and shackle himself in an airplane and jump out of an airplane with his hands and feet chained up and free himself in time to pull the ripcord. So, I mean, crazy stuff like that. And it's just something that he would have just came up with these ideas and he would have just continued to have his success. Eventually, he would have had a team that knew what they were doing and he would have had everything well planned out and he probably would have been in Vegas right now.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like it would have caught up with him at some point? He would have pushed the envelope just too far, and that this would have cost him his life at some point along the line?
Yeah, I'm sure it probably would have, but he would have died doing what he wanted to. I mean, he died doing what he wanted to. That's what he told everybody. He's like, hey, if something happens along the way, I'm dying doing what I want to do. And so eventually, I'm sure something would have happened along the way. I mean, he was getting crazier and crazier with these ideas of things that he was going to do. So I think eventually it might have caught up to him, but he would have at least got to enjoy the fame that he wanted before that happened.
Or if he was in Vegas, a controlled environment,
yeah.
A team, like you said, that is experienced, that would be able to know how to pull that off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be hard to wonder what could have.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder that all the time. I mean, I see, magicians on America's Got Talent. I see magicians in Vegas, and I'm like, that could have been my dad. Like, that would have been him. So I always think, even how my life would have been. There's no doubt I would have been right along with him. I mean, eventually I would have grown up and finished school, and then I would have wanted to join him on the road. And so I probably would have been doing exactly what he was doing now. There's no doubt that I would have definitely followed in his footsteps and done that.
There's something that means a lot to you, and it's that your dad is memorialized in some way out at Blackbeard's.
Yeah, I've always wanted to get some kind of a memorial plaque, something, because that's where he died. And I want something that memorializes that. I want some place to go where I can go talk to my dad. My dad was cremated, so we don't even have a headstone anywhere. So I want something where I can go. I mean, we've gone out there on Halloween before, but there's nothing out there. I mean, where he died is where the racetrack is at. So I can't even go to the area where he passed away and sit there because it's covered with the racetrack. So I want something out there where, he's out there and I can go out there and talk to him if I need to and know that this memorial's out here. And not only that, just to have something where, he's there forever. And I mean, that's kind of what he wanted, was to be famous. And that's where he died. A lot of people know. I just want something that, can be, of him out there forever.
And what does that look like to you? What would you like to have out there?
I mean, it could be a plaque. It could be a bench. It could be something, in memorial of the Amazing Joe. It could be anything. I just want something out there where, I can go where, okay, this is where my dad was at. Let me sit here by myself for, 10 minutes and have time talking to him or something like that. So it could be anything, just a plaque, a picture in bronze, something with his memorial and his information on it.
This is something you've worked for a long time to try to get off the ground, to be able to raise money. You've done interviews in the past for the goal of getting this accomplished. How has that gone before for you?
Yeah, I mean, I had a GoFundMe. My goal was on his 20th anniversary, let me put something out there. I mean, I'd spoken to different people in radio and told them, like, hey, this was my dad, 20-year anniversary's coming up. I want to do something. Blackbeard's was all for it. They were like, yeah, we definitely can have a plaque out here, can have a memorial, whatever you guys want to do, a vigil every year, whatever you guys want to do. I had everything set up, did GoFundMe, and just never raised any funds. I had people donate, 10, 20 bucks here and there, but it was never enough to get a plaque or a memorial out there. I've looked into it, and they run anywhere between $1,000 to $5,000 depending on what you want. So nothing too expensive, just something out there. And I've tried again on the 25th, tried again on the 30th, and just always had the GoFundMe, and nothing ever happened. I've had businesses do fundraisers, and it was just never enough to do anything with. So yeah, it's something that I've been trying to do for 35 years.
Mm-hmm. There are some magicians who have come forward who would like to do a tribute show and then donate that money to be able to get this done finally on the 35th anniversary. Your thoughts on their efforts?
Yeah, it's very much appreciated. I know my dad was a big part of the magic community here. There was local magic shops that were here that he went to all the time where they knew him. And so it means a lot to have somebody that was like, yeah, I know who that was, and yes, I'd love to help. And so it definitely means a lot. For me, it would be a goal that would finally be met. So it's something that definitely means a lot to me, that somebody still to this day cares enough to be like, yeah, I will do what I can to help. So it's definitely much appreciated.
Mm-hmm. Two more questions for you. I'm curious to know, when you go back and watch that video that we've all seen, how that feels 35 years removed from that night.
It's still crazy to watch. I do. I mean, it's on YouTube. A lot of people have covered it on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I see videos popping up all the time. I have my kids and family members send me links like, look, this person's talking about that night. And so it's crazy to watch, but it makes me feel good to know that people are still talking about it. So there's a lot of negative comments. I read comments of people that, of course, someone's always going to be negative about something, but the fact that people are still talking about it to this day, does mean a lot because, you know, it's an event that if you lived here during that time, you know, you remember. A lot of people were kids at that age that were my age, and they were there, or their parents brought them there, or their parents knew them. And so it's just something that's inevitable. It's something that's going to be talked about, and I'm just glad that people are still talking about it positively. Like, hey, this guy, you know, died doing what he wanted to do, and he died trying to be famous. And so there's still a lot of videos out there, and I watch them, and I'm just like, you know what, it's good. It makes me feel good that it's being talked about. It doesn't bother me looking at the video as much as it did in the beginning, because now I can watch it and not be like, oh my God, it's coming, or, you know, cry about it or something. It's still definitely sentimental. It's still something that I think about, but it doesn't have the same negative effect on me that it had in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. You have two children.
Yes.
Your brother, who tragically passed away during COVID-19, has 4 kids.
Yes.
So there's 6 kids that don't know Grandpa.
Yeah.
That's got to be tough.
Yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, he loved kids. He loved performing for kids. He loved doing magic shows for kids. You know, he did that for us when we were growing up. And just the fact that they never got to meet him and they found out who he was in, you know, such a way is sad, because, I mean, they've seen videos and they know what happened and they've heard about it and stuff, and it's terrible for them because, you know, I wish they could have met him, but I definitely wish that he would have been able to meet them as well.
Mm-hmm. How do you want your dad, Amazing Joe, to be remembered?
Just as somebody that really was loving and caring and trying to give back to the community where he grew up. You know, he grew up in Fresno. He wanted to help benefit organizations that helped him recover from drugs and alcohol. And so somebody that basically was trying to give back. You know, he wanted to achieve fame to make his parents proud, but he also wanted to achieve fame to help other people, to mentor other maybe young kids that want to be magicians. That's something that he wanted to do. You know, he wanted to help other people achieve their dreams. He wanted to help people that helped him. He wanted to help people recover, because drugs and alcohol is the one factor that drags a lot of great people down. And, you know, people lose jobs and families because of that. And that's something that he really wanted to help people recover from. And so that's just kind of what I want people to remember him by. I wish, you know, I can start a foundation in his name that did just that. That's something that I've wanted to do for years, is to have something in his name, an organization that would help people recover from drugs and alcohol, that would mentor, you know, kids without a father to put them on the right path, that would help kids that want to, you know, do magic like him. So that's something that I've always wanted to do as well.
And that was my full unedited interview with Joe Jr. Man, my heart really, really went out to him. I lost my mom when I was 16 years old. You know, Joe lost his dad at such a young age. And I just know that feeling of having such joy stolen from you from all of those years. And then sadly, as you heard there, his brother had died as well from COVID at a young age. He was only in his 40s, leaving behind a whole family. It's just a sad story, and my heart really, really goes out to him. I know that so many of you are going to watch this and say, gosh, I would like to help out. How can I? Joe has created a GoFundMe account, and you can find that in the television link to the version that aired on television and on our website, yourcentralvalley.com, if you would like to help out. I know that so many people are coming, stepping forward, including local magicians, seeing how they can help too. And so our hearts go out to Joe, his dad. What an incredible legacy he leaves behind, which also in the TV version, you'll hear from magicians, which is a very small group here in the Fresno area, very tight-knit group of people that know Joe very, very well and admire the work and what he was trying to accomplish. You'll hear from them too if you watch the full television version. Again, you can find it now on yourcentralvalley.com. That will do it for this version of Draft to Deadline Inside the Reporter's Notebook. I'm Brian Dorman, and I hope to see you again very soon.